So now, all of the best men of the Pan-Achaean forces, they were all beaten down by gentle sleep. All of them except Agamemnon, the son of Atreus. Sweet sleep did not hold him, but instead, he was turning over many things in his heart. It was like when Zeus, who is the thundering husband of Hera, when he sends down storms, winter storms, whether he sends down snow or he sends down hail, when he sends down the winter storms that lash against the land. Or it was like when someone is in the sharp, strong mouth of man-destroying war. That's how it was now with Agamemnon, as he turned things over and over in his chest, and his guts shook. And then he would gaze across the Trojan plain and would wonder at all of the fires that they had lit in front of Ilion. And he could hear the trumpets and the flutes, the whole crowd of the Trojans. And then when he looked at his own people, the Achaeans and their ships, well, then he would tear out his hair from its head with the roots. And then he looked up to Zeus, and his whole famous heart groaned. But then the best idea came to him. Do you guys want to sit down? Find seats. The best idea. He was going to go, first of all, to find Nestor, the son of Neleus. Sorry. He was going to come and find, first of all, Nestor, the son of Neleus. I totally forgot where I am already. Oh, I was so trying. No, there's more there. He was going to go find. So he got up. Thank you, Alex. And he put on the tunic over his chest. And he put the beautiful sandals on his fatty feet. Okay, not fatty, smooth or something, but fatty. And then he put on his lion skin. It was huge and tawny and sparkling, and it went all the way down to his feet. And then he grabbed his spear. But Menelaus also had the shakes. And sweet sleep would not come and sit on his eyelids, not while the Argives were suffering so much. Those Argives who had come all the way across the water with him to have bold war against the Trojans. And so Menelaus put the spotted leopard skin across his wide back, and he got a crown of a bronze shield and put it on his head, and then he grabbed his spear in his huge hand, and he went to look for his brother, who led all of the Argives. And he found Agamemnon. He was already by the prow of his ship, already putting on the beautiful armor. And Agamemnon welcomed him when he saw him. And Menelaus said, "Brother, why are you arming like this? Are you getting ready to send one of our friends as a spy against the Trojans?" You know, it scares me a little bit. I don't think anyone's up to this task. To go among our enemies, that would take a very brave man. And then the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, answered him and said, "You and me, Menelaus, we got to come up with a crafty plan. We got to come up with something that is going to be able to save the Achaean ships and the Achaean people, because now Zeus, he has turned his thoughts away from us. Now Zeus, he honors Hector's offerings more than ours. Hector. I have never seen a single man do this much damage on a single day. I've never even heard of such a thing. As much damage as he has done to the sons of the Achaeans. He has done so much damage that I think that the Achaeans will be troubled by it for time to come. That's how much damage Hector has done. But you, go now and get Ajax and Idomeneus. And I'm going to go and find Nestor, the son of Neleus, and see if he will come with me down to see the guards. And I'm sure that he's the man who's most likely to do this because it's his own son who is in charge of the guards, along with Idomeneus' awesome sidekick Meriones. I mean, those are the guys that we made the guards. That's what he said. And Menelaus asked him, okay, but how am I supposed to carry out these orders? Like, once I go there, am I supposed to wait there? Or should I give them their orders and then run and find you? And the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, answered, you better wait there. Yeah, because, we don't want to miss each other coming and going. There are a lot of paths along the army. And, go calling out. And make sure that you call each man by his name and you give him due respect. Don't be too, what should we say, big-headed. Because we have to do this work, you and I. Because Zeus has put the heavy burden on us too since we were born. That's what he said. And Menelaus listened to his brother and went. And then Agamemnon went to find Nestor. I may have to get on this table now. So please move your drinks. And he found Nestor. He was next to his tent, next to his black ship, and he was in a soft bed. And next to him were his armor, and his shield, and 2 spears, and his shiny helmet, and his zoster, the war belt that the old man girded himself with when he led the many people into man-destroying war, because he did not give in to old age. And so Nestor propped himself up on his elbows and then lifted his head. Who is going like this alone through the dark night when all the other mortals are sleeping? Are you looking for one of your aurochs? Or maybe one of your friends? Speak! Don't come at me like this in silence, but tell me what you need. And the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, answered him and said, old man, you know me. It's Agamemnon, the son of Atreus. Come on, Nestor, son of Neleus. And me, I'm the one that Zeus has most caused trouble for all my life. As long as I have breath in my chest, as long as my knees can still move. And sleep did not come to my eyelids. Nope. Because I was just worried about the war and about the Achaean troubles. I'm terrified for the Danaans. I'm all kind of shook up inside, and I'm stressed out, and my heart is just like about to jump right out of my chest, and my knees are shaking underneath me. But come on, if you want to do something, if sleep hasn't yet come to you, come down to the guards with me. Let's see if they are sleeping or if they have forgotten all about keeping watch, if they have given in to slumber. because now our enemies, they sit close, and I don't know what they're planning, if they want to fight this night. And the old man, the Granian horseman Nestor, answered him, "Oh, son of Atreus, lordliest lord of men, I don't think that Zeus is going to bring to pass every thought that Hector's ever had in his head. Certainly not everything that Hector wants now. And besides, I think Hector will still have quite a lot of work and trouble if Achilles ever turns his heart away from his savage anger. But I will go with you. We should still send someone else, though, to wake the others, the spear-famous son of Tydeus and Odysseus and fast Ajax, the little one, and Phyleus' shining son, Meges, in case you forgot. And have someone else go and call big Ajax and Lord Idomeneus, because their ships are all the way at the edge of the fleet. They are not close, they are far away. But now the need on us is unendurable. And with all due respect, I'm a little peeved at Menelaus. Don't be mad, but I think he should be doing this work while he should not be sleeping, sending you alone to do it. He should be the one begging the kings to come. That's how bad our need is." And the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, answered him and said, "Old man, normally I would also order you to insult Menelaus. We all know he holds back a little bit. He doesn't always want to do his work. But it's not because he's willingly scared or, it's really just because he's looking to me. Because he's waiting for me to make the first move. And this time he was actually up and he came and I already sent him to go wake up those very guys you just asked for. So come. We can go to the guards and we can meet them there for the assembly." And the old man Nestor answered, "Well then, not one of the Argives can insult or blame Menelaus now, not when he is waking men up and giving them orders." And so they went. Nestor, first he put on his tunic, and then he put on a double-folded mantle. It was purple. Then he got a spear that had a sharp two-sided. Yes, there are blades on both sides of his spear. There are. He definitely put sandals on his fatty feet, too. I left that one out. And then he went. And he went through the camp. You probably want to move from there. Until he got to Odysseus. And he was yelling. Nestor, the Granian horseman, was yelling for Odysseus, who was almost as much of a genius as Zeus is. And the sound of his yelling reached Odysseus' mind. And Odysseus came out of his tent and was like, "Who are you guys wandering around through the ambrosial night like this, alone? What do you need from me?" And the old man, the Granian horseman Nestor, said, "Odysseus, you with all of your resources, God-sprung son of Laertes, don't be mad, because now such a great need has come upon the Achaeans. Come, now we are going to wake someone else up who will have good advice as to whether or not we should stay and fight or run away. That's what he said. And so Odysseus went back inside his tent, and he put on his fancy shield, and he came out, and they went with them. And then they went to the tent of Diomedes. And they found him. He was sleeping outside his tent with all of his armor, and all of his companions were sleeping near him. They each slept with their head on their shields, and all of their spears were stuck into the ground all around them with the butts of the spears. And the spear heads, they flashed like lightning from thundering Zeus. And the hero Diomedes himself, he slept there too. He slept on a stretched out hide, the hide of a cow who had lived in the fields. And underneath his head, he put a splendid rug. Okay, geeky etymology of the week. Guess what rug is in ancient Greek? Tapis. Sorry. And so Nestor, the son of Neleus, stood above his head and then kicked him with the heel of his foot so that he would wake up, and said, "Son of Tydeus, what's this? Are you sleeping all night long? Don't you know that now our enemies sit close to us? Now they are just there on the high plains of Troy. There is hardly any space left protecting us." That's what he said. And right away, Diomedes woke up and spoke back to him, and his words flew. "Old man, you are such a hard ass. Don't you ever stop working? I mean, aren't there younger Achaeans than you that you can send out to wake everyone up? Oh, now, old man, you are just too much." And Nestor answered the Granian horseman and said, "Well, everything you say is right. In good order. There are many younger men, my own blameless sons, and the many men who follow me. I could send one of them to call. But now the need on us is too great. Now for everyone, things stand on the razor's edge, whether or not the Achaeans will face destructive death or whether they will live. But if you want to, you can go and get Ajax and Phyleus' shining son, since I think you are younger than me, if you pity me so much." And so Diomedes, he got up and he put on his huge lion's skin. It was tawny and shining, and it went all the way down to his feet. And he grabbed his spear and he went. And now Nestor and Agamemnon, they made their way down to the guards. And they found the guards. Well, they were not sleeping. They had not given in to fatigue. They were all sitting there awake, each man next to his armor. They were like dogs. They were like dogs who are worked up all around the sheep pen when they hear a beast, a wild beast, from the mountains or from the woods, and then there's the sound of the dogs and the men all hunting for them, and there's no way that anyone is going to sleep. That sound has killed sleep. That's how it was now for the guards. Sleep was killed from their eyelids, and they just kept looking back towards Troy. Whenever anybody on the Trojan side would move. And Nestor, the old man, he was delighted when he saw them. And he encouraged them with this speech, and his words flew. My children, keep watch like this. Yes, and do not fall asleep. Do not become the delight of your enemies. That's what he said. And Nestor rushed across the trench. And now all of the other Argive kings that he had called gathered. Do we remember them all? Diomedes and Menelaus. There's a couple of Ajaxes in there. I think there's an Idomeneus. There's Meges, who makes a rare appearance this week and is not even named. And Meriones and Nestor's son, they also came to take part in the plans. And they all went across the ditch and they found a clean space. Here was a place clear of fallen corpses. Here was the place that Hector had turned around from killing Argives when night fell. And so it was here that they all sat. And spoke to one another. And it was Nestor, the son of Neleus, who spoke to them first. Friends, now who has the courage in his own heart, who trusts enough to go to the enemy lines, to go close to the Trojans and either to kill one of their stragglers or to find out what they are planning, if they now want to stay close to our ships, or if now that they have beaten us, if they want to go back to their city. And if anyone finds this out and makes it back safe, he will have great kudos. He will have a fantastic gift. As many Argive leaders as there are by the ships, he will have a black female sheep from each one of them, and there will be a lamb underneath each of those sheep. And that man, he will feast and banquet forever. That's what he said, and they were all stricken to silence. But then suddenly, Diomedes of the great war cry, he answered, Nestor, my own heart and manly spirits drive me to go among the Trojans, among our enemies. But I would like someone to come with me. I will be more comfortable, and I will be braver. Because, two men going together, one of them can always keep an eye on what's best while the other one moves forward. But one man on his own, while he's trying to figure out what's what, well, his thoughts are slow and his counsel is light. That's what he said. And many men wanted to go with Diomedes. Both of the Ajaxes, they're the sidekicks of Ares. And, Meriones, yes, Meriones. He wanted to go. And Nestor's son, we still don't get his name, isn't it sad? He really wanted to go. And Menelaus, who is spear famed, the son of Atreus, he wanted to go. And Odysseus wanted to go. He was brave, and he would be bold in everything he ever did. Now he wanted to go amongst the Trojans. And so it was the Lord of Men, Agamemnon, who spoke out. Son of Tydeus, Diomedes, you've always delighted my heart, but it looks like you're going to have to choose, because there are many who want to go. And now I want you to choose who's best. I don't want you, out of some silly notion of respect, to choose someone because of their patrilineal line, that's really awkward, or of their kingliness. No, you have to choose who will be best. That's what Agamemnon said, because he was scared for blonde Menelaus. But Diomedes of the great war cry, he answered and said, Lord of men Agamemnon, if you're telling me I get to choose, well then how could I forget divine Odysseus? Because that man is brave in everything that he does, and Athena loves him. And I think that the two of us, if this man followed me, the two of us, we could make it back through flames, through fire, because he really knows how to know. That's what he said. And then Odysseus, who had many counsels, he stood up and said, Son of Tydeus, don't praise me too much, and don't insult me either. I mean, everything you're saying, the Argives already know. But the night is getting on now, and it's almost dawn. The stars have made their course across the sky. Now there's already 2 parts of the night gone. There's only a third left, so we better get going. That's what he said. And so now the two of them, they put on their terrible armor. And it was Thrasymedes, that's Nestor's son's name. Thrasymedes, he gave Diomedes a sword, a 2-edged sword. Again, a 2-edged sword. Because Diomedes had left his in his tent. And then he also gave him a shield. And then he also gave him a hide helmet. It was made of bull hide. It didn't have a horn or a crest. It was what they call a skull cap. It's the kind of helmet that defends the heads of vigorous young men just in their first bloom. And then, well, Meriones gave Odysseus, he gave him a bow and a quiver and a sword, and he gave him a helmet. It was a hide helmet as well. It had reinforcing leather straps on the inside, and on the outside, it had teeth, white teeth, the flashing tusks of a wild boar. They were put here and there, everywhere together, closely, and it was lined with wool. This helmet, Autolycus stole this helmet from Eleon, from Amintor's house. He was the son of Ormenus. And then Autolycus, he gave it to Cytharian Amphidamas in Scandea. And then Amphidamas, he gave it to Molos as a guest friend present. And then Molos, he gave it to Meriones because he was his kid to carry with him. And then now this was the helmet that Odysseus wore. And so the two of them had put on their terrible armor. And they left. They left all the best men behind as they went on their way. And as they went, Athena sent them a heron on the right side of their path. And they couldn't see it through the dark night, but they could hear it honking. And so Odysseus said hi to the bird and then prayed to Athena, "Hear me, daughter of aegis-bearing Zeus Athena, you have always stood with me before and protected me. So now again, protect me, and I will not forget you as I go. Love me now, Athena, and let me come back safely to the Achaean ships, having done some terrible thing that the Trojans will worry about for a long time." That's what he prayed. And then Diomedes of the good war cry, he prayed as well. "Hear me, daughter of Zeus Atritone, just as you followed my father Tydeus when he went from the Achaeans as a messenger with gentle words for the Cadmeans, leaving behind the bronze-clad Achaeans at Asopus, and then afterwards planned evil thoughts with your help, Athena." Week 5, that's a long time ago. just as that. Protect me and stand by me as you did Tydeus. And I will give you a 1-year-old cow that has never been broken and never been led beneath the yoke. And I will even gild her horns in gold. That's what he said. And so they prayed to Pallas Athena, and praying to the daughter of aegis-bearing Zeus, they went. They went now like lions through the black night. And they went through the slaughter and through the corpses and through the armor and through the black blood. But Hector did not let the Trojans sleep either. No, he had called all of the best of the Trojans into a close council, and now he spoke to all of them. So who among you will undertake this task? Who will get the good gift? Because I'm going to give a good gift. I will give a chariot and the 2 best long-necked horses by the swift ships of the Achaeans, and glory that goes up to the sky. I will give all of this to anyone who goes among the ships of our enemies and finds out if they are still guarding the ships as they did before, or if now they are thinking about retreating because they have been beaten down at our hands, or now they have given up their watches and they have been overwhelmed by sleep. And they were all stricken to silence. But then Dolon came forward. Now Dolon was Eumedeus' son. That was a herald who had a lot of gold and a lot of bronze, and Dolon himself, he was ugly. But he was really fast. He was the only son with 5 sisters. Take from that what you will. And Dolon said, Hector, my own spirit and manly heart, they drive me to go amongst our enemies and to find this out for you. But come, swear an oath to me, raise your scepter, and promise me that I will get the fast horses of Achilles. Achilles? I think his name's Achilles. Of Achilles and his chariot, and then I will be a worthy spy for you. I will meet all of your expectations. I will go through the army, and I will go as far as Agamemnon's own ship by his prow, where I think they are having a council right now, whether to flee or whether to stay and fight. That's what Dolon said. And Hector, he raised his scepter and he swore, let Zeus, the thundering husband of Hera, be my witness that no one except you shall ride behind Achilles' horses, and you alone will delight in them. That's what he swore, but it wasn't going to come true. So then Dolon armed, first with his crooked bow, and then with a gray wolf skin. And then he put on a weasel hide hat and a sharp javelin. And he went from the army towards the ships, but he was never going to make it back from the ships. He was never going to carry out Hector's orders, but still he went, leaving behind the men and the horses. And God-sprung Odysseus saw him go, and he pointed him out to Diomedes. There's someone going there. He's going from the army to the ships. I don't know if he's going to strip corpses or if he's going as a spy to our hollow ships. But look, why don't we let him just get a little further ahead out in the plain? And then I think that we can catch up with him and easily take him from behind, rushing him. And even if he is somehow faster than us, we'll just drive him towards the ships. We will never let him back towards the city. That's what he said. And the two of them turned their path back into the corpses. And Dolon haplessly kept running. And he got as far in front of them as is the plowing range of an aurochs or a mule, because aurochs and mules are much better at plowing than cows are in terms of carrying the heavy plow through the fields. So when he had gotten that far in front, then Odysseus and Diomedes, they started running after him. And he heard their footsteps. And he thought maybe Hector had sent some of his buddies to come and call him back to camp. But when they got as close as a spear's throw, he saw that they were enemies. And he started to move his fast limbs. And they ran after him. They ran after him like two saw-toothed dogs chasing after some little miserable beast, a 2-year-old deer or some hare through the spaces in the woods. And as they pursue it, it screams aloud. That's now how they pursued Dolon, always cutting him off from his people, always following him. And now he was getting so close to the guards that Pallas Athena put battle fury into Diomedes' chest so that nobody else would take the glory from him and kill Dolon, that only Diomedes would have that. And so now Diomedes rushed him with his spear and said, "Hey, I don't think that you are going to escape death. Not my spear, not at my hands." And Diomedes threw the spear, and he missed intentionally so that it went right over Dolon's right shoulder, and it fixed in the earth. And Dolon just stood there, terrified. He was blathering. Pale fear took hold of him, and you could hear the sound of his teeth chattering. And now these two men, quickly breathing hard, came up from behind, and they pinned him, grabbing him by the hands. And he was crying, and he begged them, "Take me alive. I can give you a ransom. Look, my dad has a lot of gold and a lot of bronze and a lot of wrought iron, and he would just be so delighted to find out I was alive by the Achaean ships." And cunning Odysseus said, "Don't worry. Don't even think about death. But come, tell me, why are you going alone like this through the night when all other mortals are sleeping? Is it because you're going to strip the bodies of the corpses? Or is it because Hector has sent you as a spy against our hollow ships? Or was it your own heart that compelled you?" And Dolon, he stood with his limbs trembling, and he said, "It was Hector. Hector, he tricked me. He tricked me with... He said that I would have Achilles' horses and Achilles' chariot if I spied and went among the Achaean ships and found out whether or not you were still keeping watch like you were before, or if you were thinking about running away now that we had beaten you, if you had given up the watch and given over to sleep." And now Odysseus smiled. "Wow, your heart really wanted some good prizes there. Achilles' horses? You know that they're pretty hard to handle, right? I mean, there's not many mortal men that can handle those, really only immortals. Achilles, his mom's a goddess, right? You knew that, right? But come, tell me this clearly. Where did you leave behind Hector? And where was his armor? And where were all of his men? And tell me this too, how are the Trojans right now in terms of sleeping or keeping watch? Are they thinking about going back into the city now that they've beaten us, or have they decided to stay out here by the ship? Tell me." And now Dolon, the son of Eumedius, he was like, I will tell you everything, and I will go through it very carefully. So I left Hector behind with all of his people on the tomb of famous Ilion. They were having a council there. And as far as sleeping, which you've asked me about, Hero, well, the Trojans, we don't have a separate watch. It's not like there's a guard duty thing. All the Trojans who set fires tonight, well, they're all supposed to be keeping watch all night long. And all of the far famous allies, they're supposed to be sleeping because they trusted the Trojans to keep watch because it's the Trojans who are close to their wives and to their children. And then Odysseus, with all of his cunning, said, so tell me, are the ones who are sleeping, are they mixed in with the horse-breaking Trojans? Just tell me so I'll know. And now Dolon, the son of Eumedius, he was like, I will tell you, and I will tell you all very carefully. So by the sea, that's where the Carians and the divine Pelasgians and the Leleges and the Cauconians and the all of them are by the sea. And then by Thembrae, well, that's where the Mysians are and the horse-fighting Phrygians and the horse-marshaling Maeonians. They're all by Thembrae. But why do you ask? Because if you really want to know who's, well, the Thracians, they just got here. And they are all the way on the edge apart from all the others, and they're sleeping. And their king, Rhesus, who's the son of Ennius, he has the best horses and chariot that I have ever seen. His horses, well, they are whiter than snow, and they run like the wind, and his chariot is made of gold and silver, and his armor is huge and amazing. Like, I can't even look at it. It's so amazing, and it should be worn by an immortal, not by a mortal. I mean, that's the kind of armor. So yeah, you should. And what are you going to do with me? Well, are you going to tie me up here with cruel bonds, or are you going to take me back to your ships while you guys go and figure out if I told you the truth or not? And Diomedes, powerful Diomedes, just looked at him from under his brows. Don't think that you're going to escape. Sure, you've been a great messenger since you fell into our hands. But if I let you go, if I set you free, I'm just going to find you again spying on the Achaean ships, or I'm going to have to face you again in battle. So I think better to kill you, better to rob you of your life. And then you will never be a pain to the Achaeans again. That's what he said. And now Dolon tried to get his huge arms around Diomedes' knee, but Diomedes, with his sharp sword, hewed right through the middle of his neck, cutting the tendons, so that Dolon's head, still speaking, fell into the dust. And then they took the weasel hat, and they took the wolf skin, and they took the bow, and they took that javelin too. And Odysseus put it all up high. He put it actually in the branches of a tamarisk tree and prayed to Athena, "Cheers, Athena, take this. You know that we will give you these things before we give them to any other god on Mount Olympus. But now let us find these Thracians." That's what he said. And he put them in the branches of the tamarisk tree and created a little, should we call it a landmark, with reeds and with tamarisk branches, that's a kind of willow, so that they would be able to find it again in the dark on their way back. And then they went. They went through the night, through the armor, and through the black blood. And right away, they found the Thracians, their goal. And Odysseus pointed them out to Diomedes. Look, that's the guy. That's the guy. And those are the horses, the ones that Dolon told us about. You know Dolon, who we just killed? But what are you standing around here for with your armor? Get the horses. Or kill guys, and I'll get the horses. That's what he said. And now bright-eyed Athena put the battle fury into Diomedes. And so he killed them, one after another, striking each one with the sharp sword as they groaned, and the ground ran red with blood. Now, Diomedes, he was like a lion that goes onto an unshepherded flock of goats or of sheep. That's how the son of Tydeus fell onto the Thracians. He killed 12 in a row, and each one that he struck, then Odysseus would come stand next to him and grab the corpse by the foot and drag it out of the way. Odysseus figured he should clear a path for the horses. You know, they might get spooked trying to go over corpses. They weren't used to them as riders. It's a plan. But Diomedes, now he snuck on the 13th Thracian, the king, Rhesus. And now the grandson of Oeneus, Diomedes, he was like a bad dream, a nightmare above Rhesus's head as he killed him. And Odysseus grabbed the horses and put the leather reins on them, and he beat them with his bow because he couldn't find the well-made whip, not in the chariot. He couldn't see it anywhere. And then he whistled to Diomedes. And Diomedes heard, and he was confused. He was trying to figure out how he could do more bad shit. The doggiest thing that he could do, whether he would go and steal the chariot that had the really cool armor in it, lifting up the pole and taking it, or whether he would take the lives of more Thracians. And then Athena came down and stood next to Diomedes. Son of Tydeus, don't you think that you should think about going home now? After all, you don't want to have to run away. You don't want some other god to wake up the Trojans. That's what she said, and Diomedes, he recognized the voice of the goddess, and right away he got on one of the horses, and Odysseus whipped the horses, and they flew. But Apollo was not blind, the silver archer, and he saw Athena following with the son of Tydeus, and he had a grudge. So he sank down into the crowd of the Trojans, and he woke up Hippocoon. Hippocoon, who was a counsel bearer of the Thracians, he was a good cousin of Rhesus. And when Hippocoon woke up, and he saw the space where the horses had been, and he saw all of these men gasping out their lives, the slaughter. And he groaned aloud, and he called to each one of them by name. And then there was just such a huge clamor among the Trojans as they saw what had happened, as they saw the terrible stuff that these guys had done who were going back towards the hollow ships. And Diomedes and Odysseus, they made it back to where they had killed the scout. And Odysseus got the bloody spoils down and handed them to Diomedes, and they prayed that they would make it back to the ships. And they went, and the horses flew. They flew just as Diomedes wanted them to. And it was Nestor, the Gerenian horseman. He was the first of all of them to hear the horse hoofs. There's got to be a better way to say that. And he said to them, "Hey, friends, leaders and counselors of the Argives, I think I hear something, horses. And I think that it might be Odysseus and Diomedes coming back, having stolen some horses from the Trojans, or else I am very scared that something terrible has happened to the best men of our Argives, something terrible under the Trojan onslaught." But before he had even finished what he was saying, they arrived, Diomedes and Odysseus, and everyone circled around them to greet them with their right hands as they jumped off the horses. And it was Nestor, the son of Neleus, who was the first to speak. "Odysseus, you are worthy of so much praise, great kudos of the Achaeans. Where did you get these horses? Did you steal them from some Trojan, or did some god give them to you as he happened across you? You know, even though I'm old, I am still a warrior, and I mix it up with the Trojans whenever I can, but I have never seen horses like these. I mean, they shine like the rays of the sun. So I think a god must have given them to you after all. Cloud-gathering Zeus and the daughter of Aegis-bearing Zeus, Athena, they love you both." That's what he said. And Odysseus, with all of his cunning, answered and said, "Nestor, son of Neleus, great kudos of the Achaeans. The gods could have given us much better horses than these. Easily. I mean, they are very, very powerful. But yeah, we got these horses. They're Thracian. They're new. That's why I haven't seen them before. And Diomedes killed their master, yep, and 12 of his companions, killed them all. And we killed the 13th guy, too. He was a scout that Hector and the noble Trojans had sent to spy on us. Yeah, that's what he said. And he rushed across the ditch. And then all of the other Achaeans followed with him, laughing aloud. They were so happy. And they went first to Diomedes' tent. And they put the horses where the horses stand, where there were already many other horses. And they tied them up there, and they fed them so that they ate the honey-hearted wheat. And then they took the offerings, the bloody spoils, to the prows of the ships and put them on the prow of Odysseus' ship as an offering for Athena. And then they went into the sea to wash off all of the sweat, to wash it off of their shins and their thighs and the back of their neck. And when they had washed off all of their sweat in the waves of the sea, well then, they got into very polished bathtubs. And they took hot baths. And they anointed themselves with oil. And they ate dinner. And then they took their cups and filled them with the honey-sweet wine from the mixing bowl, and they poured it out to Athena. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming. As usual, thanks to Amit, our awesome bartender. Thanks to Sam, our videographer. Thanks to Alex, saving my ass on Trojan lists. And thank you so much to this week's director, Leslie Baker. I just want to announce that we are off next week. It's the only week that we have off the whole time, but please come back and join us on the 16th when Sophie G will be directing. Thank you.